What is good? Osiris here, stuck in the middle. One of the worst things you can do when you have a squabble within a family or a group is to have someone who is outside of that group coming to rush on in and get involved when they really should not be. And that's what's happening right now on Twitter, about Twitter, and really much more than Twitter. As I've discussed before, we're having this squabble, this beef. Elon Musk is charging, leading the way, and many other people are supporting him and following in. So why are the Saudis involved all of a sudden? Alwaleed, all of a sudden, a Saudi billionaire, jumped into the fray. And I would recommend to stay out. I support free speech, and this is what he said. So I'm not telling him he doesn't have free speech. He said, I don't believe that the proposed offer by Elon Musk, $54.20, comes close to the intrinsic value of Twitter given its growth prospects. Being one of the largest and long-term shareholders of Twitter at Kingdom KHC, and I reject this offer. The growth prospects of Twitter. What kind of growth prospects does Twitter have? When we look at it, since its inception or its IPO, what have you done to grow the company? And here's the chart right here. Since it started, it's grown 8%. And it's like, what? It's like, where are we at? We're about 1% a year at most. We're not seeing any growth prospect. Don't play games here. Why are you involved? And like I said, you have the free speech to get involved and say what you want to say. But Elon Musk replied and kind of led the way here. He said, interesting, just two questions if I may. How much of Twitter does the kingdom own directly and indirectly? What are the kingdom's views on journalistic freedom of free speech? A savage retort by Elon Musk, out there for everyone to see on Twitter, still out there right now. Elon Musk didn't proactively bring this stuff up. He could have. There's a lot embedded in this tweet here. And I think the benevolence of America is a kindness that has been mistaken for weakness when it comes to immigration across the border and the Saudis getting involved in our discussion here. He owns shares. He has free speech. But then we can start looking into you more and then starting to ask questions about what's going on here. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is the effective king. He's the son of King Salman in Saudi Arabia, and he's the effective leader, though. He's the one running it, calling the shots. In 2017, he said that he would use a projectile, let's just say, on a reporter with the initials JK, who actually was unlived in October of that year. The Saudis are very similar to China, as savage, and that is authoritarian government, basically a monarchy, dictatorship, ruled by a king. So when Alwaleed comes in and says, "No, we're not going to sell because Twitter has intrinsic value," I start to wonder, why the hell does a Twitter platform in America have intrinsic value to you, sir? If the Saudis are invested in Twitter, you would think it would be a monetary value that they would only be concerned about. No, they're concerned about much more. The Saudi government denied that they played a role in any type of unliving. President Trump, another fault of his, was publicly passive, I would say, not showing enough interest in this. That's what Elon Musk is hinting at with that tweet. Not only do they not believe in the First Amendment, oh my goodness, they'll off you if they need to. That's the kind of government we're dealing with. Jared Kushner, we'll get to him. 6 months after leaving the White House, Jared Kushner secured a $2 billion investment from a fund led by the Saudi Crown Prince, a close ally during the Trump administration. Why are you all up in our business? The $20 billion winner of the American EV startup boom, the winner of the American EV startup boom, with Lucid in particular, not with Tesla, but Lucid is Saudi Arabia. Lucid, if you don't know, is a direct competitor to Tesla in the electric vehicle market. So when you see someone, a billionaire in Saudi Arabia, who obviously is tied in just like China, there's no Chinese company that's not tied into the CCP. There is no billionaire in Saudi Arabia that's not beholden to who rules that place like a king, a monarch, totalitarian system, savage to all hell. When Elon Musk brings that up and says, if I may, he's not joking. This is life and unlife. That's how serious this is. Elon Musk is putting himself out there. These people are absolutely savages, as we've seen. So this is not something to be taken lightly. Robbie Starbuck said, maybe Alwaleed is afraid he'll lose access to some critical information that he shouldn't have access to. Is that the intrinsic value that you're butting into our business about, sir? Twitter came under fire after another dissident journalist was reportedly tortured and killed in Saudi Arabia. That's what they think of free speech. In Saudi Arabia, you don't get banned from platforms, you get banned from living. Turkey bin Abdul Aziz Al Jazzar was arrested on March 15th for allegedly running a Twitter account called Kashkool, which exposed human rights violations by Saudi authorities and royals. He died while being tortured. I'm sure they were heartbroken in the Saudi government about this. Where'd they get the information on him? How'd they find out? They got this information from Twitter, allegedly. They got his information from Twitter office in Dubai. That is how he was arrested. A source who wishes to remain anonymous, more than wishes, demands, needs to be, told Metro.co.uk. Twitter has become insecure for dissidents or critics. Everyone speaks under threat and pressure. The accounts of Saudi dissidents are spied on. We're not safe using Twitter. Why is somebody like this with these values or lack thereof, or associated with a government and a company with these values and lack thereof, getting involved in a heated American discussion that's revolving around asset management firms, the First Amendment, and political, pretty much political battle between the corporatists and the populists? Now you need to take a look at him and look at his involvement. He is the only one that I have seen who has stepped up and made such a strong statement that Elon Musk, you're not giving us enough. The intrinsic value is worth more than you offered. So when you look at this and you look at all the shareholders and members of the board and all that, the first person to speak up means something. The first person to speak up this strongly is connected to the Saudi government. Elon, so there's many ways to support Elon. Alex Barreto said, hey, Elon, don't forget about this doozy. Yeah, I forgot about that. Former Twitter employees charged with spying for Saudi Arabia. That's what Robbie Starbuck was talking about. Are you afraid of losing access to data? Why are you involved? Are you afraid of losing influence? Why are you involved? If you look at Joe Rogan's podcast, some of the episodes, I was listening to Michael Malice and other people talking about, I was very curious on why they removed some of the episodes of Joe Rogan and didn't remove some of the others. Looks like they might have some Saudi investments into Spotify that caused them to remove, allegedly, episodes that were critical of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is, the relationship with Saudi Arabia is troubling. In one of the most serious moments, one of the most serious moments since the pandemic, Elon Musk attempting to take over, a hostile takeover of Twitter. The strongest voice to stop it to this point. No one has said anything stronger than Alwaleed bin Talal, a Saudi billionaire. Are you paying attention yet? The Justice Department has charged 2 former Twitter employees in 2019 with spying for Saudi Arabia by accessing the company's information on dissidents who use the platform. I wonder if they're accessing any information on Americans in general. He who controls the data runs the show. And we still have not done any type of bipartisan push from the populace to say enough with this game with the data. If we find out you're playing games with the data, that goes for Elon Musk as well with his cars. It's going to be with every company. We're looking at criminal prosecution, not civil. We're looking at jail time for CEOs or whoever's involved. Something that strong. That's how important we need to protect our data from. The guy who had or was associated with a country that we know for sure was trying to steal data from an American company is the one stepping up against Elon Musk. The case highlights the issue of foreign powers exploiting American social media platforms to identify critics and suppress their voices. And it raises concerns, I would say so, just a couple, about the ability of Silicon Valley to protect the private information of dissidents and other users from repressive governments. Libs of TikTok came back recently. Glad to see her back. She was on with Fox News. The cool thing about her, she is completely anonymous. And I think that is great. The content of what she provides is irrelevant to who she is. Either you like it or you don't. But how safe is her information? I don't think it's very safe. So what we've seen is if you are part of a group that is supporting the Saudis now, openly supporting the Saudis against an American billionaire, so you're choosing a Saudi billionaire over an American billionaire who's talking about, at least in part, the First Amendment. Elon Musk was recently on with the TED Talk people, and he said this.
And a good sign as to whether there's free speech is someone you don't like allowed to say something you don't like. And if that is the case, then we have free speech. And it's
pretty simple concept. Some people don't understand that. It's somebody you don't like being able to say something you don't like. So you look at the lowest level of that, and if that is allowed, then you have a free speech environment. If you don't, then you don't. Elon Musk is doing this to protect his companies, Tesla, SpaceX, all that. He needs a media outlet to protect them. But I believe he is also into free speech. So who are you going to choose? Alwaleed, Prince Mohammed Salman, or Elon Musk? It's a no-brainer. The social justice left has just been confirmed to have the same values of free speech as an authoritarian country. And authoritarian isn't even harsh enough a word. Totalitarian, savage country whose morals, of least of their government, they don't even come close to aligning with those of our people. Mike Cernovich said, why is Saudi Arabia so obsessed with blocking the deal? And why is the regime media covering this up? Is the media talking about this? Why is the media not talking about Saudi Arabia getting in the way of our discussion, whether you agree with Elon or not? The Saudis better stay the hell out of this. Elon Musk said, good question. Well, this is awkward, Zero Hedge said. The other argument that he said was it's not enough value. So he did say intrinsic, and what that means is you can't put a price on it. So when I did a video earlier and I said you could give them $1 trillion, they wouldn't take it. That's what intrinsic means. But for those people, because when you go to the board, I don't know if they're going to do the intrinsic value. This dude from Saudi, he looks like he's probably running stuff, because I don't know how he would be speaking up and nobody on the board would tell him to shut the hell up. But I don't think that's going to be their official statement. The board is not going to accept this offer, and they're going to come back and say it's just too low. I don't think they're going to go with the intrinsic value, because what does that really mean? So if you want to do the numbers argument, They said that his offer, Elon's offer of 54.20 is too low. The only problem is Goldman Sachs, who's in the deal to negotiate it for the board, has a sell rating of $30 on Twitter. What they're saying is if Twitter goes above $30, it's time to sell. Now, I understand, and this is where it is this is straight from Goldman Sachs on their website. I understand the $30 sell price that means the valuation. That means that's different than if someone's gonna take over the company. So instead of 30, maybe they would say I'm just guessing 40. But Elon's almost double over that. So I think he's covered any leeway there. And he's over double that because of his value that he's already brought to the table. They're protecting Twitter so much. In my opinion, they don't want Elon Musk to see what's behind the curtain. And it sounds like the Saudis have some stuff behind the curtain. Why would they come out and say that? Because they know if Elon takes over, this is just pure speculation, but if the Saudis are speaking out, they might think Elon's going to find out something about the Saudis that they don't want out there. Probably about the Saudis and other people. The poison pill tactic is basically a nuclear option to dilute shares and really bring the price down. It would really hurt shareholders, but it would make it a little bit more difficult for Elon Musk to take over. They're exploring that option allegedly. Elon Musk said if the current Twitter board takes actions contrary to their shareholder interests, they would be breaching their fiduciary duty. The fiduciary duty, we've heard that before. He said the liability would thereby assume would be titanic in scale. Oh, in the response from Parag Agrawal, he said having Elon as a fiduciary of the company, he has to act in the best interest of the company. So you see how Elon did that. He just tried to use the same word against the board that was used against him when he did not join the board. And he's threatening, in my opinion, a lawsuit, the liability. Now, I don't think that lawsuit would go through because the lawsuit that Elon is saying is if they don't accept his offer, then they are damaging all shareholders, including Elon Musk as a shareholder. But I don't think that argument flies because what are you saying? You're the one trying to buy the company. So I don't know how you could judge in Elon's favor. Basically, you would be saying they had to accept the offer if they were going to live up to the fiduciary duties. So I don't think he would have a chance, but he's going to try and bog them down in the courts. That would be a tough one. They have infinite funds. Elon doesn't, as rich as he is, and he wants to save those funds for Mars, in my opinion. I showed this slide earlier. It's only been up 8% since IPO. That's nothing. It's gone up 40% since Elon got involved. 8% since it started, and then since Elon got involved, 40%. It's not doing well financially. It's a holding company called the Kingdom. This is the Kingdom from Alwaleed, and it's not owned by the government of Saudi. Stop bringing our country to every discussion you guys make. This is a clown. Nobody brought the Saudis into this. The Saudis put themselves into it. And it's not owned by the government. How does the government run things in Saudi Arabia? No, they don't own it. They control it, though. If they wanted to take the money, they could. If they wanted to unlive the owners of that company, they would. That's like saying, oh, there's this Chinese company that's run by a billionaire. The Chinese government doesn't own it. Some people out here, man, are really stupid. I've seen a lot of outrage today over the idea of Elon Musk buying Twitter. I've never seen outrage at a Saudi prince owning the biggest chunk of Twitter. You know, Saudi Arabia, the place where journalists are killed, free speech suppressed, and a bloody war in Yemen funded. Yeah, you know, like all that stuff. You know who's good with Yemen? Probably the best out there. Comic Dave Smith represent.
The biggest one right now is what's going on in Yemen, and there's talks that they're going to escalate that.
You talking about Yemen again?
Yes,
but you were on CE Cup 5 years ago.
It's still and literally there, and no one listened to me then, and unfortunately no one has yet. And now they're talking about escalating it, but it's the worst thing in the world.
Explain what's going on.
So, all right. So basically, Obama started a war in Yemen. I mean, it was Obama's government working with the Saudis to launch a war against the Houthis in Yemen. And basically the backstory to it is that Obama had really, the Saudis were pissed off at our government, and they're a big trading partner in ours. But number one, they were against the war in Iraq that George W. Bush started, because they kind of were the only ones who saw obviously how this was going to go. And they were like, their big enemy is Iran. And you were like, well, if you overthrow the Sunni minority government in Iraq, obviously the Shiites are going to take power, and then Iran's going to have all of this influence in the region. So you're just empowering our worst enemy. So don't do this. Yeah. But America wanted to do it. Israel wanted to do it. All of the neocons wanted to do it. And so the war ended up happening. And so the war happens. It went exactly that way. It was a gift to Iran. And then Obama came in, and he made the deal with Iran that also really pissed off the Saudis. So Obama said, and you can Google this and you can find it, he said in order to placate the Saudis, he supported their war against the Houthis in Yemen. So we got involved in a war which has turned into a genocide to placate one of the most evil governments in the world, the Saudis. So Obama, that's what Obama, the man who won the Nobel Peace Prize, gave us.
Fire segment by Dave Smith, and very appropriate now. You're looking at all this stuff involved. If I were to pick a country that I would question our relationship with, it would be a battle between Ukraine and the Saudis. And with Ukraine, the even though the relationship is awful, we control them like a colony. With the Saudis, I don't know what the relationship is. It's a little bit murkier. Elon is literally one of those leading the charge against oil dependence. And obviously the Saudis they're billionaires in part because they're swimming in oil. This confrontation would have happened eventually. Truthfully, I wouldn't be surprised if Elon made the move on Twitter to provoke this reaction so people could see how much Saudi influence there actually was. I think Elon Musk did all this knowing that it would come out. Why is he on Twitter doing this? He knew this was going to happen, and he was ready for it. On January 27th, Twitter closed at $33.84. Elon is offering $54.20. That shows me they would turn down $1 trillion. They would turn down $1 gazillion. Elon Musk is exposing that Twitter's sole purpose is to operate as a propaganda extension of the government, and its reason for existing is to circumvent the First Amendment. If there were a fictional trial to put on, hey, what is the purpose of Twitter? Is it to circumvent the First Amendment? With this evidence and all these other evidence, with Psaki literally saying we work with social media companies to make sure we know who they ban and who they don't ban, I think they were beyond reasonable doubt that Twitter is an apparatus of the government to circumvent the First Amendment. Chris Mono says there is real shot. No, this is Chris Mono. He's asking, is there, I'm going to end with this. Is there a real shot Elon pulls this off and obtains the entire thing? Or is it a pipe dream and the powers that be find a way to keep the monopoly of information? Sounded like a genuine question by Chris there. And I replied, it is a pipe dream. It's not happening. I know people are looking at these plan Bs and Cs, and I could be wrong. Maybe Elon knows something creative. I mean, they could do the poison pill. He could pull out, drop the stock price. Then I don't know how that would work. It'd be like a race to buy up the shares to see who can get to 51%. I don't think you want to get into that, man. Playing with billions like that, not knowing what real control you're going to have over it, fighting over it. Wouldn't that be spent better off doing your own thing? I don't think it's happening. I think it's a pipe dream. But this is a white pill moment. That doesn't change anything. Jack Posobiec tweeted something like today, the energy has shifted. That alone is worth $3 billion. I think Elon would agree with that. Elon has exposed corruption. He's red-pilled normies. He's inspired many. He's been inspired me. But Tim Pool, I've never heard Tim Pool say anybody's inspired him. I've been listening to him since the pandemic started. I've never heard him even come close to that. This dude, Tim Pool, basically on today's show with Jeremy Boning and Michael Knowles, he said something to the effect of, he even used the word hero, but I would say he said Elon Musk is doing stuff that I want 300 billion or million to do. Inspiring Tim Pool, a guy who's already, I want to say he's at the top, but he's successful. You can't put a price on that. Elon will eventually have to start his own social media company, but this is the most important counterstrike in our 5th generational civil war. That means a war with information. Stay out of our business, man. Let me know what you think. Take care.